Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday, May 26, 2022. Welcome to the North Clackamas School Board. This is our open session. We'll begin our meeting by first calling it to order here at 6:31. And if Director Bauer is ready, we'll start with our native land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Chair Ford. We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District. It rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the Native people of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Malala, and Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land. And we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historical policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respect to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you. Director Perez, can you lead us in the flag salute, please? Thank you. I'd like to take a moment of silence after the tragedy in Texas. If we could all take a deep breath in honor of all the children that were unfortunately lost and the teachers that were also lost. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. I'm going to open up the floor for a motion regarding our minutes from May 12th, 2022.
Move approval of the minutes from May 12th, 2022.
Benaloga, second.
Been properly moved in a second. Are we good, Donna? Excellent. All those that approve, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Minutes have been approved from May 2nd. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda, which includes employment changes, PGE electric school bus grant approval, travel requests for Rex Putnam High School football, travel requests for Rex Putnam High School dance team, and travel requests for Adrian C. Nelson High School football. Open the floor for motion.
Motion to approve our consent agenda.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Any discussion needed?
Chair Ford. Yes, I just want to draw attention to the PGE electric school bus grant approval. In April of 2022, and this is in our board packets, our board decided we need to replace some buses that have been outdated. So we have voted to approve 10 new buses, and I am really excited about this partnership that PGE has in order to provide a more electric fleet. I think it will definitely help our environment and our climate, but also provide some really great education, I think, for students who are interested in transportation and all things electric. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thanks.
Thank you. It's been properly moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm also an aye. Just to note, Donna, that we have one member absent. Okay, next we have our community comments. I'm going to go ahead and read our policy, but before I read the policy, I want to make sure I make a statement. This is a business meeting for the school district of North Clackamas. What that means is it's not a discussion time. It is the right of this community to know what is up for this discussion in a legal amount of time. And so thus, you are welcome to make comments, but we will not respond because it is not due or just to do that. With that being said, we do have a policy. The code is BDDH. I will read the most significant part of it, but you can go online and read the entire policy. I also want to be clear, this policy is not a policy of these individuals sitting in front of you. It is a policy of the school district. Any individual desiring to speak may indicate their desire by submitting their name, city of residence, either email or phone number, and the group, if any, that is represented on the sign-in sheet or online form prior to the meeting. A speaker should give their name, city of residence, and the group, if any, that is represented, and will limit their presentation to 3 minutes. If there are more patrons desired to present comments than time allotted, the board chair has the authority to reduce the presentation time for individual speakers or institute a prioritization process with attention to order of sign up and city of residence. Speakers may offer objective criticisms of the district's operations and programs that are of concern to them. The board is restricted from hearing and will not consider complaints regarding any individual district staff member or any person connected with the district. As an organization centered around youth and their positive development, all speakers will model respectful public comment and be mindful of civil discourse. The board vests in its chair or other presiding officers authority to terminate remarks of any individual when those remarks do not adhere to the rules established in this policy. We have updated our sign-in sheet. It does include your email now, so thank you for filling that out. If you have questions, I will make sure that we get back to you through email, and you will get that through, as long as your email is clear. Let me be clear with that. Some of these I can't really read. In addition to that, we want you to be clear that at any time you can meet with us, you can make that request, and I or anyone on this board will do that to make sure you get your answers. With that being said, we have a total of over 20 speakers. We do have lots of business that we are required to get to, so we will limit your speaking time to 2 minutes. We will begin with Shelly Gordon. Please state your name. After you state your name, your time will begin.
Point of order, Chair. I'd like to add, if I may.
Yes.
I'd like to point out that we're a quorum. We're a board only when we're in the presence of a duly announced meeting and having 4 or more members. We don't, I'm going to speak in the I frame now. I don't surrender my rights as an elected official. And when you come to provide public testimony, it's being video and audio recorded. And if you make vile accusations of this board, you're by extension making vile statements about me and who I am and what I do to volunteer for this community. You have a choice, your First Amendment right to redress the government. I will protect, defend, stand in front of you to make it sure that you can complain about me. But when it comes down to it, if you make vile statements and make it sound like I've done illegal behavior, you have a duty to turn me in, and you should. And if you don't, it validates that you are making statements that are patently false. And as an individual, I do not surrender my rights to have legal action against somebody who makes vile statements of that I'm doing illegal behavior. And I will protect my name, my family, and what I do for your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Shelly, after you state your city, the time will begin. Press the button right there. There you go.
With
Try
the
now.
push word? Okay.
You're perfect there. There you go. You can
Okay.
let go, yeah.
This is Shelly Gordon. I'm from Clackamas, Oregon, and I just wanted to thank you guys for volunteering your time and spending time and effort and energy to protect our children and to keep books in our school that some people may not agree with, but are very important to all people. My kids have already graduated, and I was always so thankful to have scientifically accurate information available at the school. In their pocket, they have a phone with every piece of vital information. And, thankfully, they have the school library that they can go to for accurate information if they're not comfortable talking to me. So thank you. I appreciate your protection of our children.
Thank you. Next on our list. Next, we have Carrie Kirk, or is it Larry Kirk?
Okay, thank you. I'm a resident of Clackamas County, one of your constituents, and I'm here to address a very concern of mine relative to the books and some of the curriculum or matters relative to the LGBTQ. I struggled for many years with my sexuality. And it caused, very, very much pain and destruction in my life because it was something that wasn't talked about and the material was not available. Technology has, evolved over the years. And, if you choose to ban the material, they're going to be forced to go to the internet and you may not, really. I lost my partner of 6 years. 6 years ago, 24 years old, because the material wasn't there. The safety, measures weren't there, relative to the LGBTQ, lifestyle and safety in some of the kinks. I respect your judgment, your best judgment, and I support you. But please, coming from someone who went through the struggle, through the being ridiculed, having to hide the sexuality, it caused nothing but problems. So when that door opened and I was able to accept myself, it's not only for the the LGBTQ kids or young people. It's it's for those friends around them that need to understand what what their friends are going through and how they can support them. They even tried. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Tara Nelson.
Tara Nelson, Damascus. In light of the district reviewing English curriculum, the AP English Language and Composition course is designed to help students become skilled readers and writers through engagement, asking you to read critically, think clearly, and write concisely. You expect well-written historical literature books to be studied, not smut books that are filled with sexually driven pornographic garbage. Let me read a page from a current ongoing assignment at Nelson High School, Dig by A.S. King, page 106. I don't know what I'm doing. He's just lying here and I'm just lying here, but something makes me reach down and touch his penis. I think of the word penis and start laughing slowly. The laugh builds and I don't take my hand off. I squeeze it with each giggle and Ian laughs too. And we're lying on his couch, me with my hand on his penis, laughing. When my phone rings again, my hand hesitates. In order to reach my phone, I'll have to take my hand off Ian's penis. And I don't really want to because it's growing in my hand. And that's far more interesting than anything anyone could tell me on the phone. Are you answering that? No. We fall into a hysterical fit and Ian nearly falls off the couch, but I hold him steady by his penis. What is concerning is that this author writes many more explicit storylines. The description from the teacher's syllabus does not include anything about the foreplay of sexual acts. It was said the teacher had prepared a letter to the parents advising asking permission. Maybe not. It's unclear because nothing was received or communicated, hard copy or electronically to parents. Some of our sons and daughters were not given a fair decision-making process to choose out of the one of 7 books. The overall heaviness of content these 14-year-old freshmen are being placed under the inappropriate content and burdens in their growing minds. It's not teaching our sons and daughters how to read and enjoy great literature, but bringing sexual exploitation before true understanding of its purpose to the forefront of their minds while playing off their hormones. Truly sickening and disturbing. The teachers think it's progressive to have our sons and daughter read it, but it's only encouraging them to engage in sex without understanding its consequences fully. We wonder why so many youth are depressed, anxious, and confused. This needs a new collaboration with parents.
Thank you. Tara, point of order before you leave. Are you asking for anything specific regarding this? Okay, thank you.
Well said.
Next, we have Blair Stenrick? Stenrick, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I'm Blair Stenvick. I'm a resident of Clackamas County in this district. I'm here with Basic Rights Oregon. Also, we're an organization that works for the equality of all LGBTQ plus Oregonians. I'm also a foster parent to a transgender teen who will be attending a district high school in the fall. When I was at the last board meeting 2 weeks ago, I heard from community members who wanted to ban books, who didn't want teachers respecting kids' pronouns, and who urged teachers to stick to math and reading as if it's possible to educate a child without also teaching them about respecting different identities in the world around them. I'm here to say that I believe the majority of Oregonians and the majority of this district affirms and supports our LGBTQ plus youth. I also believe that representation, that seeing yourself in media and being validated by your community is crucial to the health and well-being of all kids. I want to thank the teachers here tonight who recognize that when you affirm trans and queer kids, you're making a huge difference in their lives, perhaps bigger than you know. Last meeting, I referenced statistics from the Trevor Project, stating that if LGBTQ plus kids have at least one affirming environment in their lives, they are 40% less likely to attempt suicide. That affirmation includes curriculum that reflects them, books that recognize their identities, and school officials who work to prevent bullying and teach respect. I grew up as a closeted queer kid without an affirming education, and I'll never get back the years I lost to shame and confusion. I know our community can't go backward, and I thank all the board members for not bending to a hateful minority.
Next we have Brett. Is it? I'll let you say your last. Dux. Can you pronounce your last name for me, please? Daux. Thank you very much.
So my name is Brett Daux. I'm from Happy Valley. And I'm here today to discuss a little bit about what you talked about in the beginning in the recent events that have happened in Texas. One of my main concerns that I would like this board to look at is more of the security aspect in the schools. I grew up in the area here, and I'm used to SROs in the school. I've also noticed that there are no SROs that I know of in any of the schools, but I haven't done the work to look at that. I know from Happy Valley Middle School, I don't believe there's an SRO attached to that school. What I'm worried about is an event like what happened in Texas and at other times across this country happening here in our community. So I'm sure I'm not alone with the audience here that would like all of our kids to be safe and secure in the schools. So I'm hoping that the board here takes a look at looking into reinstating more security, more SROs for the schools to protect the kids. I yield my time.
Thank you, Brett. Just for clarity, board, I will make sure that we get back to Mr. Daux regarding the SROs and also our Happy Valley system. Next, we have Sarah Parnell.
I didn't realize it went off every time. I'm Sarah and I'm from Clackamas.
I hear you.
Okay. You know who I am. I'm Sarah and I'm from Clackamas. Okay. So I prepared for 3 minutes. I'm going to try to go fast and skip a lot. I'm here to support the teaching in our schools of social emotional learning, as well as diversity, whether it's racial, culture, sexual, or gender. I've been working in the area of social work for 16 years. I've worked in the arenas of child welfare, trauma emergency department, a pediatrician's office, and as a therapist. I have seen a lot of trauma and how trauma impacts kids and adults when they are unable to live their authentic selves due to being in non-supportive environments. I listen as kids and adults tell me they want to kill themselves because they know their families will not accept them for who they are and they feel rejected. I listen to those same kids and adults tell me, recall that one person that did listen to them, and that's the reason they stayed alive through the most difficult times. I listen, and I know if we all listen to these kids and these people with these lived experiences, we can learn a lot from them. It's important to teach social emotional learning and gender and sexual inclusivity and acceptance in schools because people tend to fear what they don't understand. Fear can lead to panic, anger, and hate, much of which I hear in this very room, at least the last board meeting. This is the root of bullying, and when youth who are already marginalized, possibly facing family and social rejection, are bullied at school, this leads to higher rates of depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicidal ideation and suicide, and also affecting their performance at school and higher levels of dropout. Youth who are rejected by parents and caregivers based on their gender or sexual identity are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide, 6 times more likely to report higher levels of depression, 3 times more likely to use illegal drugs, and 3 times more likely to be at high risk for HIV and STIs compared with other gay and transgender youth who are accepted by their parents. Using a gender LGBTQ plus inclusive curriculum benefits all students by promoting acceptance and respect and helps to depathologize and destigmatize sexual and gender minorities. This breaks down the fear, panic, anger, and hate spiral and replaces it with understanding and acceptance. And I'm just going to leave you with some research and resources. And I have some at the table there for other people who wish to have them.
Thank you. Next, we have Chelsea Hendrix.
Chelsea Hendrix, Clackamas County. I have a 9 and a 5-year-old in the district and a parent, a community member. My husband is a firefighter. And when I first commented here, I specifically came to support my own school where students were being bullied for who they are. I spoke in support of our school staff and the LGBTQ community. And from this experience, I can see that it's much bigger than myself, my school, or just our community. All kids everywhere, whether Black, white, or brown, Native or newcomer, transgender or not, deserve the freedom to be themselves and to be seen, loved, and accepted for who they are. As someone who believes in that freedom, I felt and still feel the need to speak up. I've now attended several meetings, been yelled out, called names, seen you all called names, teachers, and have been told recently I better stop talking because we're tired of hearing what you have to say. I'm sure that's true. And we're tired of having to say it. But I won't be silenced because anyone is tired of hearing about the importance of inclusion. Children and adults across the nation are silenced by hate every day, and it cannot win. In addition to saying again how important it is our school to be educating our students about the wonderful differences we have in our world, I'd like to speak specifically to the portions of last meeting's commentary that spread across social media within days with no context and lack of facts. A neighbor and friend of mine shared the clip with me, and the result was a candid, thoughtful, and respectful conversation where we listened to each other, discussed our experiences, and why the information being mentioned in the clip aren't based in fact, but in fear. Fear of people and perspectives that are different from your own, which is why the work that you all do and that our teachers do is so important. From that fear breeds hate, and that hate leads to bullying. Bullying is what brought us here in the first place, and bullying is what is happening at these meetings. Again, thank you for being here and doing what you do anyway. We're being put in boxes based on what we look like, where we're from, and our genders to fuel divisions between parents, push laws to erase history. And I thank you so much for this time.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to the online. I'm gonna go to the online just for fairness. They've been waiting. Bottom two. Okay, cool. So we'll start with, is it Marina Valdez? Okay, I see you.
Here, do I tap here to speak?
You do. We don't see you anymore. That's your choice, but just know we don't see you anymore. Now we see you. Yes,
Okay, great. Hi, good evening. My name is Marina Valdez. I am from Milwaukee, Oregon. I'm coming here as a parent to two elementary school children attending school in North Clackamas School District, and I am also a licensed psychologist with a private practice in downtown Milwaukee, Oregon. I work just down the street from Milwaukee High School and Milwaukee El Puente Elementary School. So I'm here in both the roles that I hold in the community. As a parent, it is important to me that children attend school in an environment that affirms who they are and supports who they will grow to be. We know that children's educational environments are one of the most powerful systems that serve to promote healthy development. As a psychologist, I know the research has shown that well-rounded curriculum that affirms identity, teaches social emotional skills, promotes inclusion and acceptance, and allows for exploration of social issues all enhance academic development and achievement. I want this for my children, my patients, and I want this for all the students in the community. Research has also taught us that when students see themselves reflected in academic curriculum and in their educational pursuits, it's a powerful source of validation that enhances outcomes, academic outcomes, and mental health outcomes. We also know that when LGBT, queer plus, and trans youth are marginalized, shamed, and silenced, this can lead to detrimental academic and mental health outcomes. I'm here to encourage the school district to maintain inclusion of social, emotional, and sexual health curriculums and to maintain important literature that reflects the experiences of all of their students. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Hunter online. You're
Hi.
next. State your name and city, please.
Yes, I am Donna Hunter. I'm Donna Hunter Strobel. I use he, him pronouns. I'm here from Portland with Basic Rights Oregon. And I'm here to speak in opposition to the group of parents who are wanting to ban change the curriculum. And I want to say that getting rid of queer curriculum, getting rid of books that talk about sexuality and sexual orientation does not get rid of LGBTQ plus youth. It only makes us feel unsafe. It only makes them feel as though they cannot exist in that environment. Others have talked about the statistics from the Trevor Project that have shown that when LGBTQ plus youth have an affirming environment, they're 40% less likely to commit suicide. So having affirming curriculum and books is literally life-saving. And I think that that needs to be the center of what we're talking about rather than a fear of even mentioning sexuality, because ignoring sexuality does not make it go away. It's there. And it's so much easier to hate a group that you don't know. So not talking about it also literally creates environments where people are so much more likely to hate the people that are like me, that are already so hated and under incredible attack in the country right now. Legislation, anti-trans legislation is all over. And so having that affirming environment, just one affirming environment, makes all the difference in the world. But it also makes all the difference in the world to the people who are not queer, who have access to seeing these are people just like me that are existing in the world. And it is hatred breeds ignorance, or ignorance breeds hatred, excuse me. So when you do not know anything about people who are queer, it's that much easier to hate them, to hate us. So I'm asking that you not change the curriculum, that you continue to support queer youth in your schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna, that's all that showed up online? Okay, thank you. Okay, going back to the room, Crystal Gaskin.
Hello, good evening. I'm Crystal Gaskin. I live in Malala. I am a NCSD employee and a proud union member. I keep hearing parents and community members talking about what educators are doing within the four walls of our classroom. I'm here to shed some light on what happens in my room. Consoling kids who brought Pokemon cards to school and lost them after being told not to bring them 100 times. Supporting toileting protocols and helping potty train. Talking about 6 or more students and why they should not choke each other at recess. Driving to the grocery store on my prep to purchase items that they need, like snacks and clothing. Allowing kids to take naps when they're falling asleep. Trying to fit in extra reading interventions for kids who are struggling. Looking for a kid who went to the bathroom 30 minutes ago. Having class meetings about why it's important to take care of each other. Supporting age-appropriate conversations about pronouns when they bring it up. Teaching a room full of 6 and 7-year-olds how to tie shoes. Answering close to 2 million emails a day. Covering recess and lunch because we don't have enough staff and there are 4, 5, 6, 7 or more staff that are absent that day. I'm also curious how a parent or community member who is against supporting social and emotional needs at school might advise me to handle the following scenarios that I have personally experienced or been witness to. What about the 6-year-old who was raped by her father and is now scared to be around people, especially strangers? What about the student who tells me they are a boy, dealing with the trauma of being rejected by their own grown-ups at home? What about the student who found their mom's dead body after they took their own life? What about the student of color who is surrounded by predominantly white peers and is uncomfortable to wear their natural hair to school unbraided for fear of being made fun of again? What about the student who was ripped from their home country because of war and is now in an unfamiliar place without the ability to communicate how they're feeling due to a language barrier? What about the student who heard about yet another mass school shooting, including 19 elementary students being murdered and is now scared to be at school? Do I ignore their feelings and their need to be protected? What would you tell those students?
And Joan Morgan.
My last name's Cheryl. My name's Bill Magorian. I live in Milwaukee, and
I didn't call you.
oh, you didn't? Oh, excuse me. I just thought somebody murdered my name.
Joan Morgan. I think she's standing right there.
Sorry.
Hello, my name is Joan Morgan and I live in Happy Valley and I have 2 students in this district. I came here tonight not only as a mother, but as an ally for children that may not have a voice. I reviewed the list of books that others are calling to be banned and something stood out to me, as it did to most people in this room. All of the titles feature LGBTQ youth. I'm here to say that representation matters. I implore you to think about the past several books that you've read. Do you identify with any of the characters? Is that what drew you to the book? Is it what helped you escape into the story? Representation matters. The normalcy, love, and acceptance that is shared in these pages is so incredibly important. To feel normal, to feel loved, and to feel understood helps these students shine brightly and feel more confident in themselves. If you've never had to bear witness to a child whose light is dimmed by fear, hate, and bigotry, then consider yourself lucky. I watched as my little brother's light was dimmed until it almost burned out at just the age of 13 because he did not have a supportive environment. The Trevor Project estimates that at least one LGBTQ youth between the ages of 13 and 24 attempts suicide every 45 seconds in this country. Our children in this district are not exempt from this statistic. The absolute least that we can do to help these kids is to offer them a safe place to be themselves. My hope is that that safety extends past the walls of the library. I appreciate all the work this board has done in an effort to make sure that no student is overlooked. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Bill, you want to get your steps in again?
Got to be able to laugh at yourself. My name's Bill.
Press.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Directionally challenged. My name is Bill Magorian. I live in Milwaukee for most of my life. My background is I did a lot of volunteer work. I got to retire early and I volunteered at Whitman Grade School. Got to meet some wonderful children. I did a thing called Lunch Buddies where you went to lunch with a child and went out to recess. I did Bus Buddies for a couple of years where you rode home on the bus, and that's a wild ride with children in grade school. And then I had a child who was my lunch buddy and he wanted to meet me after school, but you can't do that. There's rules. And Ellen Baltus, better known as Mrs. B, said, well, why don't you be a big brother? And so I did that. So right now when I'm coming, and so many people did such a better job of describing things, is that we just need kindness. We need to have an education system in which people learn about other people that are not like them so that they can see their humanity. And, you know, we just need to raise Mr. Rogers in our schools. We need to have children that will stand up for those that are not like everyone else. And that every child should be able to go to school and feel safe and nurtured and loved. And a lot of the stuff that's going on just does not create that. And we need to be educated so that we don't make the same mistakes. And I came from a time when I grew up in North Portland and we were moving because of a racist dad that I had who didn't want their daughter going to Jefferson High School. And I know what the kids said, and I'm like in 4th grade, are you going to sell your house to a what? And somebody? So we moved out to Milwaukee where it was nice and lily white. And so I don't want to see another generation that hates somebody because of ignorance, and that they grow in kindness as they get to see their fellow students as someone deserving of that. Thank you.
Renee Pearson. Renee Pearson.
Hello, is it on? Okay.
Name and city, please.
My name is Renee Pearson and I live in Sandy, Oregon, and I'm a teacher at Happy Valley Middle School. And I watched the last couple of board meetings and I listened to a number of speakers state that our school board does not care about children, that our school board is harming children. So I came tonight to tell you that I know this to be untrue. Because every morning at my middle school, I see Board Director Orlando Perez helping children and parents cross the street safely. He even chaperoned an orchestra field trip that his own daughter didn't go on. During a pandemic, when we all risked our health to march for justice for Black lives, I listened to Chairman Ford speak passionately in the support of children and families in Clackamas County and in our surrounding community. Although I don't know the rest of the school board members, I do know that you volunteer for this job. And I know that it is not an easy one, especially these days. So I just wanted to come tonight to say that I know that you care because I have watched you demonstrate that care through your actions repeatedly. I would like to say thank you for your service to our district, for your consistent support of all students and all families, regardless of their beliefs, their skin color, their religion, their abilities, their gender, etc. Thank you for doing your best to support teachers and the work that we do every day on the front lines in this battle for justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Shelsky. Mark Shelsky.
The light is green. Does that mean that it's on? All right.
Just state your name and your city, please.
My name is Mark Shelsky. I live in Milwaukee. I have 2 children in district schools. I know that you are under pressure from parents and even others from outside the school district who are anxious about kids being exposed to ideas about race, gender, and sexuality that they don't agree with. Public schools must serve the public, but the public is made up of people from many backgrounds. And part of education is learning to get along with people that aren't like you, even people that you don't agree with. The single most important thing to me is that the schools my kids go to are a safe place for them to grow into a competent human being living in a world full of people that aren't like them. Education stretches and challenges us, and we learn best when that happens. That stretching happens in an environment where we are accepted and cared for. That's true for kids from every background, every culture, every skin color, every religion, every sexual identity. I also feel like it might be helpful to mention that I'm a Christian pastor, and the ethics at the heart of my religious practice is Jesus' instruction that we would love our neighbors as ourselves. And so certainly, white Christian kids from conservative families are my neighbor, and I want to love them well. But so also are Black kids and Asian kids and Latin kids and gay kids and trans kids and bi kids and ace kids. These are all my neighbor, and I want them to be able to learn and grow in an environment where they know that they are safe and loved. And so I'm here tonight after watching the horrible video of the last board meeting to tell you that as a parent of 2 students in the district, I support your work for inclusive education. And as a Christian pastor, I support what you're doing because it's necessary for us to love our neighbors well, to have an environment where our kids know that they're safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Kriner.
My name is Kim Kriner and I live in Clackamas. I've been teaching in the school district for the past 15 years. I'm also a person of faith. As I finished watching the comments portion of the last school board meeting, I experienced a number of feelings: shock, sadness, and confusion. I heard words such as grooming, indoctrination, sex abuse, and pornography thrown around, and I had to ask myself if I was indeed watching our district school board meeting. Sadly, I was. I find it interesting how at the beginning of the pandemic, those in education were praised for our commitment and dedication to students as we adapted to a distance learning model. What a difference a couple of years makes. None of the descriptions given by angry citizens at the last meeting describe my work or the work of my colleagues. Our goal, first and foremost, is to make sure students are safe. We strive to be transparent with parents in what and how we teach. We have no hidden agenda. We can only teach students reading, writing, and math when they feel safe in our classroom communities, and that community must be cultivated. We don't teach core subjects in a vacuum. On any given day, students may come to school dealing with many issues: hunger, poverty, various kinds of abuse, anxiety, and depression. Those issues must be addressed before students can learn. We strive to create opportunities for students to feel a sense of belonging and to really know that we see them in all aspects of their identities. We listen. We do our best to nurture students socially, emotionally, and academically. I do not teach critical race theory, nor do any other elementary school teachers. That is a college level course. I do teach tolerance, anti-racism, and diversity. Overall, I feel very good about the work that my colleagues and I do with students, and that each student knows they are accepted, valued, and cared for just as they are, each and every one. I want to express my appreciation to the board for supporting the work we are doing in our classrooms. I am sorry for the way you have been treated. It is not a reflection of any of you and does not characterize the important work that you do. Please know that my colleagues and I are more committed than ever to make sure our students are appropriately challenged academically and that they are seen, they are safe, and they are valued just as they are.
Cheryl Sargent.
Green light is on. There we go. Cool. Hi, my name is Cheryl Sargent. I live in Sandy and I teach at Happy Valley Middle School. I've been watching the public comments at recent board meetings, and I have been dismayed at some of the comments. One thing I've noticed a lack of is facts. Many have shared their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, their opinions. A few have shared unsubstantiated rumors or even outright lies. Chair Ford and directors of the board, I feel very fortunate to teach for North Clackamas schools. One reason for that is because this board is made up of people who hold facts to be important to your decision-making process. So please allow me to share some facts. I have a list of references and resources available should anyone ask. Among lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer youth, only 1/3 experience parental acceptance. 1/3 experience parental rejection, and 1/3 do not come out until adulthood. Lesbian, gay, and bisexual young adults who report high levels of parental rejection are 8 times more likely to report attempting suicide and 6 times more likely to report high levels of depression. Only 55% of LGBTQ youth report that their school is affirming, and only 37% say that their home is affirming. Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to be affirming, and only 51% found their school to be gender affirming. Research consistently finds that LGBTQ youth report lower rates of attempting suicide when they have access to LGBTQ affirming spaces. 36% of LGBTQ youth report that they have been physically threatened or harmed, and those who did attempted suicide at triple the rate of those who did not. Those facts are dire. I am here to help children. My fellow educators are here to help children, and I know you all are here to help children. Here are some ways we can help. Having at least one accepting adult can reduce the risk of suicide by 40%. LGBTQ youth, thank you.
That concludes our community comments at this time. Thank you all for coming this evening. Our next agenda item is Vern Duncan Elementary is a school presentation. I see people popping up on the screen and walking
Chair
towards
Ford,
us.
Chair
Yes.
Ford, would it be possible if I could read my my board report at this time before the audience may depart?
I'm gonna say no, Director Schrader, without a vote of changing the agenda. I'm sorry, it closes at 6:30. You're welcome to email us if you like to send us an email. We
Right,
are 30
yes,
minutes
sir.
behind also, so we'll move forward. So please begin.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to share Principal Emily Behunin on behalf of Vern Duncan Elementary School, and we have some audience members here also representing Vern Duncan. So thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me tonight. I'm excited to share what Vern Duncan has been working on, all our work in supporting our students, as well as some things we need to continue to work on in the future. I will be presenting tonight and joined by a couple of guests to help share our story. For those of you who haven't met me, good evening. This is my 3rd year at Vern Duncan, and I'm loved getting to know this community. All right. Oh. As a school, we have shifted and changed over the past few years, and we've actually gotten smaller, which has given us a chance to become an even stronger and focus on more family community at our school. But as you've seen in North Clackamas, our statistics and diversity continues to change, which gives us an opportunity to learn more about our families and help and support them in new ways. And it's exciting to have such a diverse community each and every day at school. I want to share tonight our work on care and connection. I know the school board supports all of that work, that we know that if our students feel cared for, they're going to become stronger young adults and continue to learn. And so that's been our focus this year with your support. This evening, I will talk a lot about our student voice and how we've engaged as we've come back to school together. This includes talking about some student unions that we've been able to offer. We have choir, we have chess club, Oregon Battle of the Books, and we've been able to continue a whole community virtual Friday morning meetings, which gives us a chance to come together. Another piece of care and connection is making sure that we meet kids where they're at. And so part of that is called MTSS, multi-tiered system of support. We've had to really look at what core curriculum we're providing for students as they came back to us full-time this year. We wanted to make sure that that curriculum and instruction was at their level, as well as provide individual support. This continues to be a work in progress, as we know. Our students are still making those gains and definitely needed a little bit more this year. And I'd want to do a shout out to my incredible staff in building those classroom communities. You hear about students being able to share their different unique families at home, being able to share things with each other, learn about each other, and share their voice. So our classroom communities are something to be proud of. If you haven't had a chance to come to Vern Duncan, I encourage you to stop by. This evening, we'll hear from our PTO. And although PTOs in the past do lots of community events, this year, they'll get to share how we've had to adjust and change and been creative, and how they've really focused on making sure all students and families could participate in new ways. And finally, I want to highlight our focus on K-2 literacy. We're one of 4 schools who's been able to get some additional support and what that means for kids in building foundational reading skills, which will benefit them long-term, how important this program is, and how we hope to see it continue, not just for Duncan, but for other schools. As you know, students are the heart of our schools. It's important for all of our schools to hear from our students, to make sure that we understand what's going well and where they need our support. As a district, we do the Youth Truth Survey, and in elementaries, that's in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. For our students, this is a chance to tell us how they feel about a variety of topics, gives us a chance to reflect on things we continue to do for them and what we can do better. This year, our students told us that engagements, the area of engagement is our highest area and something to be proud of. And we still need to work on belonging. And I think that speaks to the work we continue to do each and every day as our students learn to honor each other and be part of each other's lives. As part of Youth Truth, students are able to share some of their feelings, and what a great way to capture how they're feeling. It is great to see that our students at Duncan really appreciate the help of their teachers and adults. They appreciate that most of their school is kind and they learn a lot, that they continue to get help, even from their classmates who help them even when they make a mistake. As part of their feedback, they also let us know what we can continue to work on. We want to make sure that all students have a chance to talk and not be talked over. That we need to stop someone when they're being mean and help them learn what to say. Make sure that we can respond and help them have the words if someone's being unsafe. And overall, helping people learn to be more nice and kind to each other. So as all the positive work we're doing, we know that our students notice that these things still happen and we have work to do. One of the areas that we found and are proud of and able to offer is some student unions for 2 groups. We have a Latinx group as well as students of color. Our Latinx groups and our students of color student unions meet approximately twice a month before school. It's after our buses arrive so that all students can participate if they're interested. When I talk to these students, this is something that they're proud of, that they're excited to be a part of. And for our 5th graders, hope that it's something that will continue in the future. Most importantly, for our students of color, our Latinx students, they recognize that having a student union is important. This is a place where they can meet other kids like them, that they recognize there's other kids out there with different skin tones because sometimes they feel left out. They get to learn new things and even have discussions that aren't always comfortable with someone who doesn't look like you. And we're so proud to offer this space for our kids. They also know that Duncan wants to continue this work.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to tell you one time to please be quiet. If you're not going to be quiet, I'll ask you to remove yourself. This is not a time for the public to be speaking. That's number 2. This is my second warning to you to be quiet. This is my third warning. Please exit the room. If you cannot be quiet, please exit the room. This is my 4th warning. Please exit the room so we can continue the business of the district. Please exit the room. My apologies to Vern Duncan. Please continue.
Thank you. As I was saying, our students as part of the student union also recognize we want to continue this work, that they actually want to help other students understand the importance of diversity, maybe do more activities. Right now it's 4th and 5th graders and maybe extend it to more grade levels. And even they want to offer it to other groups who might want to have their own meetings, whether that be an LGBTQ group. Our Russian students have an opportunity to meet, but the importance of providing a safe space for our students to come together, that can be together and support each other is definitely important and something we're proud of at Duncan that we've been able to do. As we think about this, our students definitely enjoyed coming together. They just wanted to share a few words with all of you because they know you support these activities and these student groups. One of the things that they shared was finding that trusted adult. I know that's been mentioned and it's important, as we know, and this is an opportunity for those kids to find that trusted adult within the school. At the end, another student did want to share. The Latinx group did invite the students of color one morning to share all their different kinds of Mexican chocolate. So fun is also being had as we have these deep and important conversations. And so if you want to participate, stop by Duncan. You're welcome to come check it out. They'd love to share their work with you. As we think about our students, our staff has put in so much time and dedication, and they just wanted to reflect on the experience of our students this year as we came back together. First and foremost, as proud as we are of our staff, we're so proud of our students. We wanted to provide that care and connection. We wanted to give them that opportunity to be back together. And we saw students thrive. They persevered, they showed excitement, they tried new things and challenged themselves. It was amazing to see. And so we're so excited to be part of it. We also recognize there were still some things we had to work on this year and still things and challenges we faced. We're one of those buildings who had some positions posted all year. We're still looking for people to be part of kids' lives and fill our staffing. We definitely recognize that there is still health concerns and a pandemic there, and that fear of germs impacts each of us, our families, our students, our communities in different ways. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to stay together, to stay healthy, and to stay safe. And we recognize that's going to continue to be part of our daily lives, and appreciate your support with everything we've had to move and adjust to make that work and be together. Our staff also recognizes how hard it is to meet all those individual needs. We know that there's still students struggling academically. We appreciate the support and know that's still going to continue for years to come. And because it's dear to their heart, they will continue to support kids every way they can. And we also recognize our students are still developing some social skills, missing some of that time together in those in-person experiences, especially as younger kiddos. We definitely are supporting them in new ways. That SEL curriculum, those social emotional community time is very important for all of our students to learn how to be together, how to be respectful, how to problem solve together, and how to make a positive change and be part of the community. So it has been a great year. We're still working on some stuff. I invite you over to come celebrate with our kids. We're doing lots of fun stuff together. As I transition, we're going to talk a little bit about how our PTO has brought in the community and looked at new ways to engage this year together as a school. First up is our PTO president, Kristen Baldy, and I also believe our treasurer, Nicole Nix.
Hello, thank you all for being here. Thanks for having us. I got a little emotional there with some of that stuff, but I appreciate you, like I said, having us. This has been a strange year for the PTO. Again, my name is Kristen Baldy. I've been on the PTO now. This is, I believe, my third year. I have 2 students at Duncan, and we've just made some changes this year, as everybody has. Our main fundraiser this year has been actually a bottle and can drive that's been going on since the shutdown, where we've been collecting bottles and cans. We've been at school. Instead of having each student bring in the bottles and cans, we were doing it as a class to be a lot more inclusive.
Your mic is really loud.
There we go. Thank you.
Mine's loud?
Yeah.
Oh, is there something I can do?
Further away from your computer.
Oh, is that better?
Right.
This is my PTO computer, so I don't know.
Our teachers enunciate, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a little better. Just just know you don't have to speak very loud.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Okay. We also did a penny drive where we were just having kids bring in change instead of each child bringing in dollars for something specific. So it was a little bit more inclusive. We also had a spirit week that we were able to what we did was we actually switched it around and did it around Mr. Vern Duncan's 88th birthday this year. I looked at the calendar and it happened to be on the 6th of April. So we went ahead and made that our birthday celebration for Mr. Duncan. He didn't know it was happening, and we had a reverse parade for him, and his daughter brought him through, and the entire school and staff was outside waving and cheering for him. And he got out of the car and walked around and absolutely had a blast. So we're hoping to maybe do that going forward for his birthday every year that we can do that, because he absolutely loved it. We also did a rainbow day where you can kind of see in the corner that is kind of a heart shape, where we had 5th grade be purple and 4th was blue and so on. Down the kindy was red, and we tried to stay in a heart as much as we could, and we took a photo from from above, as you can see. So we're trying to be a little bit more inclusive this year, and we will see what we can do next year. We're going to try to keep that going. And we'll see how it goes. Maybe more events in person, hopefully, but we'll see.
So yes, a shout out to the PTO, supporting staff, supporting students. I don't know if Nicole is there and wanted to say anything.
She's shaking her head. She doesn't want.
Great. But it's been a wonderful addition to be able to bring back some all school events, to be able to celebrate together, all schools, K-12, that helps define your community, and it is nice to have back. So thank you to them for helping us out. I know they've been thoughtful about what we can do and what each family can participate in. All right. As we transition, we're going to go to, I'm going to invite Lindsay Oakes to join us here. Duncan Elementary is part of 4 schools that are spending the next 3 years really focused on K-2 literacy. As you may or may not know, that is the foundation of building readers, and definitely a place you want to start. All kids were impacted academically, but this allows us and gave us a chance to start really strategically looking at literacy in a new way with some support. So we are focused on starting at those basics. This year, not only did we find students who needed the support, but really focused on our underrepresented and underserved students. As Lindsay presents who we were able to serve this year, we would say about 90 to 95% are typically underserved kiddos, and really proud of what they were able to gain this year. So different curriculum and resources that we wanted to utilize. Lindsay is with us half-time as a benchmark specialist, a certified position, and we also have an instructional assistant for 4 hours a day as well to meet with kids. This is a tremendous resource. Again, we just wanted to give a shout out to the district for your support. Hopefully share some good news with you that would let you look ahead to see if we can spread this in other places in the district. But I'll turn it over to Lindsay to talk a little bit about who we served and what it looked like.
Thank you, Emily. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm not in great light, but I'm here. So I am half-time at Duncan and half-time at Mount Scott, and I'm the only benchmark specialist in the entire district right now. So it's me, myself, and I. So at Duncan, my assistant and I work with about 46 students every single day. We serve kids kindergarten through second grade. We would love to see this position expanded K-5. I would love to be full-time in one building too. We serve a lot of kindergartners, really hitting foundational skills hard with them, first graders and second graders. 60 to 90 minutes is how often we see kids every week. Our average group size is 3 to 4 kids, which really provides great individualized instruction, and we're able to meet kids' needs individually, and it really empowers kids and their voice. And I have a little story to share about that in a second. Just at Duncan alone, we serve 10 different classrooms. In total, I serve 17 classrooms and about 100 kids in the district. And the nice thing about this model is that I've created a system to meet with teachers every 8 weeks to review data and then to find different ways to meet kids' needs in my group or various other groups. So we're doing a lot of work, especially being halftime between 2 buildings. So it's really exciting work that we're doing now. So some results that we've had so far, and this is not end of the year data, but for now, 97% of the students in kindergarten at Duncan have grown by at least 16 letters and sounds between fall and spring, as measured by something that we call the quick phonics screener. So it's just a quick measure of basic phonemic awareness and phonics skills. I have a lot of students who started with 0 or 1 letter names, and now they can easily tell me every single letter name and every single sound it makes, and they're very proud of themselves every day. First grade students, 77% of the students grew 2 to 7 times the national average. The national average is about 0.4 sounds per week. I have students that are growing 3 to 4 sounds per week currently. It's amazing to see kids go from 0 to literally 80, and they're off the graph and they can't even believe that I can draw a line that big. So it's amazing, and they get so proud of themselves. Second grade, 71% of students grew 2 to 4 times the national average as measured by Dibble's nonsense word fluency. And Dibble's is a testing measure that just sees where kids are with their foundational learning and their early literacy skills. So letter names, being able to hear sounds in words, being able to put sounds together, and then being able to read. So it measures a lot of early literacy and literacy foundational skills. And then excitingly, 96% of all of our students that we see grew in all of those Dibble's measures between fall and winter. And we're just doing the spring measures now, but I even have some students that were considered urgent intervention and now are considered core or even above core. So that means that they are in the 80% that we can target with our core instruction each day. So that's really amazing. I also want to say that this work empowers students and it allows them to gain the confidence that's necessary and gain the voice. I have a student, I got an email like at 8 p.m. the other night from a teacher that said, the first time all year, this student stood up and volunteered to read in my classroom, and he didn't miss one word. The only word he didn't know was the word sound, and he sounded it out. And it made me almost cry. It was so exciting for him. Students are more engaged in the classroom and the experiences that they get. I just want to share a couple more things. Sorry, Emily. I just think this work is really, really powerful to close the gap for students. The kids are proud of the work they're doing. It's a safe space for them to take risk, and it allows teachers to meet individual needs better in the classroom. And so I'm a resource person for all K-2 in both schools. I would love to see this work in many different schools and expanded K-5. I think this is a really powerful position and it empowers kids in our district.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think this slide kind of captures some of your feelings and thoughts, but just some thoughts from our K-2 teachers. Again, this support has helped some of those students become role models in the classroom. Let our teachers, the other classroom teachers, do some additional teaching, and without worrying about those foundational skills. It has been powerful to see our students grow in confidence and see that knowledge just take off, and those students being excited and recognizing how much they're growing. So we are incredibly grateful, are excited to see this grow and share data with you in the future, and hope to see this expand, not only at Duncan, but at other schools. But be proud of what you're investing. Our kids and families are so proud, and we're seeing great things. Overall, I am just grateful for the staff I work with, all the adults, and the care they give our kids, the support from the board, and Clea and Jen. And thank you for this time and any questions.
Thank you for that. Board members, do you have any questions for Vern Duncan Elementary? Director Perez?
Thank you, Board Chair. Thank you, Principal Behunin and Ms. Lindsay Oaks for the presentation. Two questions real quick. One is, this is the stats on the K-2 literacy. It's pretty, I find it pretty amazing. So I'm wondering, what would you think it would take to replicate this at all the other schools, elementary schools in our district?
I think two things were incredibly helpful. This is Ms. Oaks' job, is just literacy, and she has been able to create groups at students' levels and just focus, do that instruction, watch them grow, and get the next group up there. So by having that adult focused on that benchmark, those benchmark standards has been huge. It also takes time for those teams to meet, to reconnect with kids and track that data. So we can get to the next set of kiddos, help them grow. What would be ideal is a set of curriculum. Ms. Oaks has put together a lot this year, but it would be nice for her to either have a team or a curriculum that could support that. But they're not long sessions with kids, but they are very consistent and repetitive as our students grow with those literacy and foundational skills.
Okay, thank you. And then the other, it's not so much of a question as more of a comment. I think I saw on one of the slides, there was a comment by the staff about, see, I think I wrote it down here. I think I'm getting senile. Can't read my own writing. Okay, so I'll just say that I think I heard the words loved and nurtured and supported and accepted for the students. And I just want to say, you know, that one person, I think I heard that twice today or tonight about students just need that one person, or kids just need that one person. And I just want to say many times, it's the teacher. It's you teachers, what you do. And I know for me, when I was in school, there was one teacher I always look forward to. And so no matter how tired or weary or exhausted you may become, just know that you do have teachers, all of you teachers have impact as far as helping us to feel accepted, respected, loved, the kids, the students. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Director Way.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Ford. Hello? Can everyone hear me? Okay. Nope. Hi. Okay. Sorry, it's the mask too. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. I just have two things. I just really like the fact that, not only are we talking about the highlights and the successes and what's going well, but that we're hearing directly in terms of what needs improvement as well to our board in terms of more positions and additional funding. So I really just appreciate the honesty of just areas where we can continue to invest and grow. So thank you for that. The second thing that I just want to comment is I really want to affirm the work that you're doing around creating these affinity groups for our students of color, for the Latinx Student Union. For me, I grew up most of my life in Oregon, and it wasn't until I was going to Portland State University that I started connecting with students and college students at the time who looked like me, who were Asian American and Pacific Islander identities. So I know how critical that work is important to, again, have these spaces where students can be themselves, be with their peers, and talk about issues in areas that they may be struggling with. So thank you for mentioning that. And then I also just want to ask, I know that we've been hearing testimony today, and we're going to be talking about a resolution here coming up for our LGBTQI plus students. If there are safe spaces, particularly for those identities as well. I mention that because I know that our district has different clubs, student unions, affinity groups at our high school level, but I wasn't sure if we were starting those at the elementary level as well.
Duncan currently does not have a student union, but we definitely have staff who either have a safe space sticker on their door or window, or provide other conversations and spaces for kids to come to us. We've had multiple students this year have pronoun conversations and identified which adults they wanted to be at that conversation. When we were able to speak with them and have that conversation and support them in that conversation when talking to their peers or each other. And so definitely no group yet, but definitely students can identify which staff that they know have advertised that safe space and and they talk about it throughout their school day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Okay, Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Ford. And I want to thank you for a great report and acknowledge all of your hard work. And, it still hasn't been an easy year for staff, teachers, but thank you so much for that great report. And it's exciting to hear about the literacy gains. It reminds me of there's support and there's data showing that if a child doesn't read in third grade, they're not likely to graduate. I don't know exactly how much that support, but there is that. But I also want to know, was the funding for that program, was it the student success? Do you know, or I can find that out later?
Yeah, Jen Kiltow helped put that all that funding together. And I want to say it's SIA money, but don't hold me to that. But Jen Kiltow has that information for you.
Okay, great. Yeah, and thank you for that honest report. And again, it comes down to funding and budgeting, and it's so important to try to understand that aspect. And that's something we need to continue to voice for all of our public schools. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to follow up with, we'll follow up with your question, Director Bauer. Director Perez.
Okay, thank you, Board Chair. Principal Behunin, I remember what I was going to ask. I had converted it into a comment because I couldn't read my writing. But now I remember the question. So when you started off the presentation, you talked about care and connection in your community and how important that is, and especially for our children. all of us every day should ask, what can we do for our children? But my question is for your care and community, or care and connection in your community, is there something you do to build connection and relationship with the parents? Because many times it's the parents creating that relationship with them, and maybe providing opportunities to share resources that they may not know, et cetera, et cetera. Many times supporting the parents, and then the parents can do what they need to do to provide that love and that nurturance and that acceptance and that support and that respect, all that at home for the child. That's my question.
Yeah, so that has definitely been a challenge, and we've been trying to be creative this year on how to bring our family into schools. One of the things we do, we have a Friday morning meeting, which is virtual. So 1 or 2 grade levels in the gym, and we live stream like you do on YouTube to the other classrooms so they can celebrate with us. And we also always send that home. And so as part of that meeting, we celebrate our character traits of the month. They get to see us do our Dragonfly pledge together, and just celebrate other things that are happening. So we hope that gives them a glimpse into school, because they weren't, it was hard to get them there this year. We've definitely started opening up some volunteer opportunities, and different teams have families coming back in, which is exciting, to help support our students and our activities, whether it's a celebration or a field trip. And we look forward to some more family events next year. We have some things on the books that we have put in pencil to bring them back into the community next year. So
Thank you so much, Principal Buchanan.
Thank you for that. I just want to say on a personal note, miss you guys. I pass you every day, but I don't see you anymore. So good work. Super excited to hear where you guys are going. Next on our agenda is our North Clackamas Education Association featured educator. Good evening. You want to turn your mic on? Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Good evening. It is my honor tonight to present our featured educator for May, Jackie Doyle. Jackie is a health services teacher at Sabin Schallenberg Center, and I have a few quotes that I wanted to share with you about her work there. Building a strong student-teacher relationship is at the heart of Jackie Doyle's work. Every year, she welcomes the 9th grade students into the health sciences program and helps transition them from middle schoolers into confident high school students. Her classroom environment is a safe space for taking academic risks, and Jackie warmly demands the best from each student. There are a lot of healthcare providers in our area who first realized that they wanted to work in healthcare while in her classroom. The impact of her work in our community in that regard is impossible to measure. Additionally, she is a caring and supportive colleague who can sum up a situation that feels complicated into a few words that make sense to everyone. And that was from her administrator. Her coworkers say that she runs her classroom in an inclusive fashion and is a defender of diversity, integrity, and social justice in her classroom. And then finally, I wanted to include a student quote. It says, Mrs. Doyle is the most outgoing, caring, loving, and intelligent teacher we have ever experienced in our 13 years of education. She has taught us many things, from etiquette to compassion and to how to love and care for yourself. She is the reason why we are pursuing our healthcare careers, and we will carry her lessons throughout the rest of our lives. We will forever remember the first time she made us take blood pressure with one hand as 14-year-olds. We struggled, but she helped us get through it. She is the definition of women empowerment and never fails to have a smile on her face. She makes our class enjoyable to attend. The passion for the human body and the teaching of it that she displays is the reason I aspire to work in the medical field today.
Wow. I don't think I deserve all that adulation, but I appreciate it. And you've taken a lot of words out of what I wanted to say was I was asked to give some positive things about teaching, and that's exactly what it is. I form relationships with students. It is a pride for me to see my 14-year-old green students by the end of their senior year, they have a pathway to a career, and they end up coming back after they have gone to college and they're healthcare professionals. They end up coming back and speaking to my 9th grade students. And that is the most rewarding thing I can say about my teaching, is to watch these students grow and progress and become professionals in their career and in the community. This is a real honor. I have a long history and in North Clackamas School District, and I'm not going to take much more of your time, but I attended Happy Valley all the way through the Clackamas High School. I went to Dale Ickus Junior High, and my mother was a teacher at Clackamas High School. My 3 boys went to all through North Clackamas School District schools. I have a daughter-in-law that now I encouraged to come to our district, and she is now an administrator. I am going to have a granddaughter start at Scouters Mountain Elementary in the fall. And I intend to continue working with the schools as a substitute, not full-time, but this is a wonderful honor for me, and it's a swan song because I am retiring at the end of the year. So thank you, board, and hi, Mitzi. We have known each other for a long time, and I'm going to miss, this has been the best job I've ever had. This has been the most rewarding time of my life, is being able to teach. And I want to thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm going to obviously allow Director Bauer to say something, since we're having like personal communication here.
Jackie, you're amazing. And I have visited your program, and I've seen students come out of your program with great successful careers, but you've always had that touch, that care. I'm glad you're not going away far. And thank you. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, you guys, my students have given way more to me than I've given to them. And I appreciate it.
I think it works both ways. Thank you. And enjoy your retirement. Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye, Mitzi. And you guys, board, thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Excellent. Next on our agenda is our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus Pride Month proclamation. I think everyone should have the proclamation in front of them from the board. Let's begin reading, and then we'll open the floor for a motion.
All right, thank you, Chair. Whereas North Clackamas Schools shares in the belief that diversity is our greatest strength, and our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, LGBTQ plus students and staff have the same rights guaranteed to their peers, and
whereas each year, the month of June honors the 1969 Stonewall riots in Manhattan, and the National Education Association has included LGBTQ plus Pride Month in its list of commemorative months since 1995. And
whereas we believe, like Jason Collins, the first openly gay major American sports athlete, who said, "Openness may not completely disarm prejudice, but it's a good place to start." And
whereas LGBTQ plus youth are almost 5 times as likely to have attempted suicide compared to straight cisgender youth, and each episode of LGBTQ plus victimization, such as physical or verbal harassment or abuse, increases the likelihood of self-harming behavior by 2.5 times on average. And
whereas a national study found that 40% of transgender adults reported having made a suicide attempt, with 92% of these individuals reporting having attempted suicide before the age of 25. And
whereas having a gender sexuality alliance reduces a child's risk of attempting suicide by 50%, and students at schools with gender sexuality alliances experience less bullying around gender nonconformity, and
whereas federal law guarantees students the right to form gender sexuality alliance clubs where other non-curricular clubs exist, and our community is better because of the diversity of our population. And
whereas inclusion is a core value of our district, and the school board is committed to helping in the crisis of suicide in our community by creating a safe and welcoming school district for all students.
Now, therefore, the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors proclaims June 2022 to be LGBTQ+ Pride Month and urges our community to join us in celebrating the diverse gender identity and sexual orientation that exists among our students, our staff, and our community.
We currently are open the floor for a motion, please.
Director Stradel, move approval of.
You can exit. You can exit now.
Point of order.
Second.
we
Exit
support
now.
you need to sit. Point of order, you're not following policy, respectful of everyone, civil discourse. Please.
Director Stradel, move approval of
second,
Director Stradel, move approval of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month proclamation.
second,
It's been properly moved and second.
I'm sorry.
I will open the floor for discussion.
I would have an interest in reading a second time after things get quiet.
I will entertain that.
yeah,
While
second
we
that.
are waiting for us to have some quiet for that, I would like us all to acknowledge that there are children in the room. And we're all here to take care of our children first and foremost. And we must take care in our presentation because presentations matter. So in that, we will reread the proclamation.
okay. Whereas North Clackamas Schools shares in the belief that diversity is our greatest strength, and our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, LGBTQ plus students and staff have the same rights guaranteed to their peers, and
whereas each year, the month of June honors the 1969 Stonewall riots in Manhattan, and the National Education Association has included LGBTQ plus Pride Month in its list of commemorative months since 1995. And
Whereas we believe, like Jason Collins, the first openly gay major American sports athlete, who said openness may not completely disarm prejudice, but it's a good place to start. And
whereas LGBTQ youth are almost 5 times as likely to have attempted suicide compared to straight cisgender youth. And each episode of LGBTQ victimization, such as physical or verbal harassment or abuse, increases the likelihood of self-harm behavior by 2.5 times on average. And
whereas a national study found that 40% of all transgender adults reported having made a suicide attempt, with 92% of these individuals reporting having attempted suicide before the age of 25. And
whereas having a gender sexuality alliance reduces a child's risk of attempting suicide by 50%, and students at schools with gender sexuality alliances experience less bullying around gender nonconformity, and
whereas federal law guarantees students the right to form gender sexuality alliance clubs where other non-curricular clubs exist, and our community is better because of the diversity of our population. And
Whereas inclusion is a core value of our district, and the school board is committed to helping end the crisis of suicide in our community by creating a safe and welcoming school district for all students.
Now, therefore, the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors proclaims June 2022 to be LGBTQ+ Pride Month and urges our community to join us in celebrating the diverse gender identity and sexual orientation that exists among our students, our staff, and our community.
Chair Ford, I would like to restate the motion is to approve lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month proclamation.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. We're currently in discussion. Anyone else have any comments? Yeah, right away.
Thank you, Chair Ford. I just want to acknowledge a lot of the testimony that were given today by parents, community members, young people who care so much about this issue. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy lives on a Thursday to come to a school board meeting. I just want to let you know that I hear you, and thank you for bringing also some of your own experiences, personal experiences from your families, and to again, it's so important just to bring those voices into this boardroom because our stories are important, our experiences are important. I just want to share very quickly, just some words of inspiration. I really connect with people's stories and experiences as well as their identities. And so I know that this current month is still Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We are now going to be definitely recognizing and honoring LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in June, which personally, I just feel like we should be celebrating all of these identities year round, but it is what it is right now. So I just want to recognize a particular person who I think really sort of exemplified for me, was sort of a role model in terms of how I look at the world. And some of you may know who that person is, some of you may not, but this is again just someone that I feel like her life story was very inspirational for me. And so I will say her name. Her name is Stacey Park Milburn, who was a Korean American queer disability justice activist, a dynamic leader. She advocated for people of color and trans and gender expansive individuals to be included in the mainstream disability justice movement. On her 33rd birthday, May 19th, 2020, Stacey passed away. But her message and vision for a more inclusive world lives on through her close friend and a partner by the name of Andrea Levant. And this quote that Andrea shared about Stacey says, "There is no reason for us to feel shame for who we are. We were born into this world exactly as we are. We are who we were meant to be." Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board discussion?
Chair Ford.
Okay.
Director Wade, thank you very much for those words. The only thing I can add is to say thank you for sharing that to the LGBTQ+IA community. I stand with you. When you hurt, I hurt. I welcome your conversation. It was through listening sessions 4 or 5 years ago, hearing the student's voice, that I expanded my already open mind to actually understand what happens in the buildings that we have and what we can do to help improve better outcomes and equity. I am part of your family. I welcome justice, fairness. We all wake up, and I think we all wake up to be a kind person. We don't set out to do bad things. We need to celebrate our differences, and I celebrate everybody here tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Bauer?
Yes, thank you, directors, for your words and for bringing out the stories are so important. That's how we learn. We really do. And who we are meant to be. We do this because we believe it's right. We know it's right. But we do this too because we have adopted policy. Go back to our policy. Every student belongs. ACB. All students are entitled to a high-quality educational experience, free from discrimination or harassment based on race, ethnicity, family economics, mobility, language, marital status, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, initial proficiencies, religion, or national origin. That's what I stand for, and that's what our board stands for with this policy that we adopted.
Thank you, Chair Ford. I just want to mention that I think proclamations are important, but what's even more important are the people behind those proclamations. And that's first of all, our kids, all of our babies, no matter how old they are. It's not just our job to educate them. It's our job to grow them into wonderful human beings, into wonderful adults. And you can't do that without an inclusive education system. And secondly, we have some wonderful staff. We have wonderful people that eat and breathe this work, this equity work, and understanding the policy and helping our districts live it and have it become a reality for our students. So although I appreciate the proclamation, I think they're very important, but I think we need to remember that there's a lot of work and a lot of heart that goes into the work behind this. And that at the center is having students that feel loved and connected and educated and supported. So I wholly agree with the proclamation, but I also really support the people behind it.
Any other comment? Director, you good? Okay. I'll just sum up something, a comment. We say a lot of words up here. And then certain words are picked out and kind of dissected to be bent in ways that either people love or hate, right? But I would hope that people know that a proclamation like this is centered around something that's really dear to me, which is love. Love is never wrong. And what I saw tonight is a room that showed that love is not wrong. We've had many years of this country showing us how to do hate. And we have nothing good to show from that. It's time for us to turn the ship around. And words like these make that difference. And I encourage you that if this is messy for you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, find the message in it. Because there's a message just for you, and you're missing it by spending your energy on exuding hate. So I encourage you to focus on the love, because love will always win, no matter how hard you fight. And love will always be right, no matter how much you hate. So with that being said, I will take a roll call for a vote. Director Stradle.
Director Stradle votes aye and would like to be recognized as my full name and as an I, not just counted as a number. I want my name on it.
Director Perez.
Aye, and I second what Director Stradle said. Do that for me also. Thank you.
Director Way.
Yes, aye.
Director Benaluga.
Aye.
Director Bauer.
Director Bauer, aye.
And myself is an absolute aye. And you can write my full name too. And if you want my birth certificate, you can have that too. Thank you. Next on the agenda is English Language Arts Adoption Renewal. Myra Gomez.
Good evening, directors and community members. Tonight, Dr. Andrea Lockard will present to you our recommendation for renewal for our language arts curricula for grade 6-12. So with that, I leave you with Dr. Lockard.
Is my screen being shared? Sorry, Dr. Gomez.
It might be yours or mine. I see our PowerPoint.
I'm so sorry. I'm actually getting a warning that says that I can't unmute if I'm sharing my screen. So if you don't mind sharing the slides, and then we'll work through it together, that would be great.
Oh, it's not me sharing.
We can hear you and see you.
What's not working?
Who is running the slideshow?
Oh, she's not.
Yeah, and Dr. Gomez, if you could present the slides, I'm getting a warning that says that I can't have my microphone on if my slideshow is also presenting, and I'm not sure what's causing the warning, but.
Yeah, I'm not sharing either.
Andrea, go ahead and stop sharing first.
Okay, oh, sorry, thank you.
Now go ahead, Myra.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Gomez.
Oh, good one.
And we can go, if you click to the next slide. Great.
There we go.
This is the secondary, so that's grades 6-12 language arts adoption renewal. We are recommending the renewal of the two products that we've had in the past. That is Inquiry by Design, and then the Oregon Writing Project units. And I'll talk a little bit about each of them in this presentation. It's always important for us to start with our why. It's our purpose, it's why we do what we do, and it's what we center our decision-making around. And so there are 4 key points to address in renewing our why. Inquiry by Design and Oregon Writing Projects are aligned with Oregon's revision of the Common Core state standards, as well as ODE's material selection criteria. We know that a standards-aligned curriculum is essential for our student learning because our standards are our promises to our students. Both resources center student voice, choice, and multiple perspectives. Both resources provide foundational exemplars for inquiry-based instructional practice for working with complex texts. And both resources promote rigorous learning that will support student success and advanced coursework for all students. And some examples would be AP, IB, and dual credit. If we can switch to the next slide. Some additional factors, just contextual factors to consider in our adoption process is that we had a full implementation that had been interrupted by the pandemic. It was affected, both in the interruption of instruction of our normal instructional practice, as well as the implementation of professional learning. Renewing inquiry by design, supported by Oregon Writing Project units, will provide continuity for teachers and for students. It's very important that we ground the learning. And one of the things that we talk about a lot in teaching and learning is how do the puzzle pieces fit together? We really focus on three main things: the curriculum, which is the what; effective instructional practices, which is the how; and the how do we know, which is assessment. And curriculum really is the standards and the materials. So in 2021, the Oregon State approved a revision of the Common Core state standards. And this year, after the standards were approved, we made sure to take a look at our own prioritized standards to make sure that they were aligned. We had a particular focus on that at the high school level as well. And I just wanted to thank all of our teacher leader collaborators who participated in that conversation. It was rich and highlighted the amazing educators of language arts that we have here at North Clackamas. So the other part of the what, the curriculum materials. Inquiry by Design is a state approved and standards aligned curriculum provider. We have 2 units at each grade level. Why only 2 units? Well, it offers flexibility for teachers while staying grounded in exemplars of high quality and rigorous text. This flexibility is essential in being responsive to the students that we have in front of us who change year to year as they grow and learn. Next slide, please. This is, if you could go back one, sorry. This is an exemplar of one of our middle school units for Inquiry by Design, how poems are built. Each of these units really do have core instructional practices, which we'll review shortly, that help tie a thread together for different routines that students need for that continuity of instruction. This is an example of what a different prompt would look like for that middle school curriculum. And you'll notice 3 really key features: independent reading structures, analysis and writing, and student dialogue. These are the different ways that students engage with text and that they learn to analyze and use those critical thinking skills. The Oregon Writing Project units really center around teacher collaboration in response to the students that they teach. These teacher designed units are responsive to students in real time. Who are the students and what is relevant to them? And more opportunities for students to see themselves in the curriculum. This is an example of the cover page of a table of contents of one of the units for grade 10. You'll see some common features that exist across the units, both in the opening acts, the main stage, and the closing acts, which include the instructional practices and routines and strategies, as well as the text and the assessment pieces. Also, it's important to know that these units have been collaboratively developed with teachers from across the district and thoroughly vetted. This is an example and one that I think is really important to highlight about what does it look like when students learn collaboratively through student discourse in the classroom. What you'll notice is a theme wall, and this theme wall is an iterative artifact in that learning is iterative. So as students discover and learn more in a text, they're able to add to that throughout their learning. It's important that students interact with each other to use language as well, which we know is really important for language acquisition. The how do we do this? How do we can have excellent curriculum materials, and we also have to pay attention to the instructional practices. Inquiry by Design, every unit is centered on 4 instructional practices or moves. There's foundational moves that include the rounds of comprehension and inquiry stance and conversation. These are essential to the student learning that happens through Inquiry by Design and connect very closely to the strategies used in the Oregon Writing Project as well. We also have included essential questions, scaffolds, and modifications, including extension opportunities and specific considerations for emergent bilingual students. And all of that is included in Inquiry by Design. The Oregon Writing Project units are designed using an inquiry-based approach, so very similar to Inquiry by Design. And they rely on connections to prior knowledge, which we know is really important for students to be able to attach their new learning to current learning. Interpretation, comprehension of rigorous, high quality text, opportunities for analysis, and opportunities for peer-to-peer collaborative learning. And this also includes essential questions, scaffolding, and the use of mentor texts. Mentor texts are the way that we can have students dig in and really analyze text as a way to see how writers do what they do in ways that they can emulate and learn writing as well, which is an important part of language arts. The how do we know assessment. Inquiry by design includes frequent checks for understanding, for example, inquiry reflections, which are formative, scoreable moments, which are formative and summative, and the Oregon Writing Project includes frequent checks for understanding, for example, the journals that they ask students to write in, discussion, graphic organizers, and a larger summative assessment at the end, which is rigorous, tied to text, and evaluates priority standards. An example, which I referenced before, would be the closing act, and it would be the character analysis essay. That's just one example of many. What does this mean for students? Students have an opportunity to authentically engage with mentor texts and make meaning both through writing and in dialogue with peers, and that is essential for both critical thinking and analysis, and again, for language acquisition. Rather than say that students like the curriculum or engage with the curriculum, one of the best ways we can show it is excerpts from their own work. It is one of the most powerful examples that we have for how deeply our students think, how deeply they engage with text, and then connecting that back to what it means for them. These next two excerpts from student writing are powerful in what they show about connection to text, but also in ways that they have been affirmed in their identities or how they have thought about the world. This is another example where we can see students interacting both with their peers, either through silent discussion or through a live discussion. And then you've also got different ways that they're interacting with text. That's the center of the discussion. We know that community outreach is essential and important in the work that we do. Nothing we do is absent the community because we're here to serve the community. So it's important that we give opportunities for community voice and opportunities for them to review the curriculum. In the initial adoption, you'll notice that we used similar strategies to what we used in the renewal with the addition of Parent Spirit, because that is an excellent tool that we have available to us now. And we offered 3 different community review nights for community to come in and examine the curriculum. Parent voices from the initial adoption, loving the new material that kids are presented with. Kids come home with books and information about cultures and groups they haven't been exposed to. Fabulous. Parent voices from the adoption renewal, I think it's important that we include both celebrations and challenges. We'll start with the celebrations. I appreciate the diversity of the text, and it's good for inclusionary purposes. Our community members who engaged in the survey with us indicated that the materials are engaging for students, culturally appropriate, and provide explicit reading and writing instruction. Next slide. Teacher feedback. So more celebrations. Reading these lists makes me excited to try out new units if I teach other grades. As an OWP or Oregon Writing Project fellow veteran, I incorporate patterns of instruction in my own curriculum design alongside the principles of inquiry-driven instruction. I like doing an unbeing, but would encourage teachers to pick and choose among the readings. It's a lot. The root section was a big hit and I got awesome argumentative work from it. I found all of the OWP units, they have so much rich material that I can always utilize parts and add what my specific students need. And that is an excellent illustration of the flexibility that we were referring to earlier. Some challenges. Updating the units to keep them relevant. We know that time does not stand still and our current social context will continue to change. It is important that we revise our units so that they are kept up to date. One of the specific examples referenced at the top of the slide talks about the unit about 1,000 Splendid Suns. Since that unit was written, the context in the world has now changed with the ending of the Afghanistan war and the Taliban taking over the country. It's also important that we align our resources to support advanced coursework such as AP and pre-AP, and it is something we will continue to address through providing professional learning support, unit revision, standards alignment, and examining student work. Moving forward, close collaboration with elementary and secondary programs to align professional learning and resources moving forward is absolutely essential. The curriculum, all 612 teachers have been surveyed. Their feedback will absolutely inform our next steps regarding revision of teacher-created units to more closely align with priority standards. Teacher leaders will build and revise curriculum summer 2022, so this summer, to ensure that the units meet the learning needs of all students. And in this upcoming fall, we're looking to try out some more units at Inquiry by Design that will be more responsive to our students. Instructional practice, we will continue to work to refine the secondary language arts instructional model because that is a foundational piece that will drive our instruction. And with assessment, it's really important to begin developing and providing standards-based tools to support best practices in assessment, which, for example, would be standards-based rubrics and intervention. I would also like to thank Director McVeigh was able to make it to the curriculum night. Thank you very much. Asked great questions, as did a number of community members. I also would really like to thank the teaching and learning team and the teacher leaders who have been collaborating with us throughout this time, and especially Santa Casal, who is our instructional coach, who has been essential in helping us make those connections with buildings and students. And with that, I will end my presentation.
Thank you for that. This is a discussion item, board members, so as usual, we'll come back. But are there any questions or comments at this time? Director Benaloga.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I had just 2 questions. Can you address a little bit professional development and where we are with that? I'm assuming with the rollout being interrupted that professional development was also interrupted. Can you speak to that?
Yes, and that actually was the most significant part of the interruption. So we really are looking at coming back to renew the professional learning around the instructional practices moves, because that, when we look at the curriculum delivery around that inquiry-based instruction, that's the part that we need to support and really provide a lot of targeted professional development around, in addition to the assessment pieces, which once they've been developed, once we share those, they will absolutely need professional learning around them as well.
And then kind of to follow up on that, how is this lending itself to the proficiency-based grading that we're moving toward?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. When we think about standards-based resources through the lens of particularly assessment practices, we know that there are essential pieces that teachers need that will set them up for success with equitable grading practices, because we know that that's grading for learning. It's communicating with students where they are at with their learning. So those standards-based rubrics that I gave an example of earlier will be an essential part of that work.
All right, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Director Bauer.
Thank you for the report, and thank you for all the information since I couldn't make those dates. So when will it be fully implemented, do you expect?
So as we look over the course of the coming year, we're doing a little bit more foundational prep work in order to address a full rollout in the fall of the following year. So it's a little bit staggered in that sense because we have to reset the foundation for the instructional practices, so then we can add layer in the materials pieces. But the Oregon Writing Project units, the materials themselves will be available and have already been implemented. So we're just looking at aligning practice.
Oh, great, thank you. I love your examples of writing and the quote, "I'm me and I'm proud. Our differences make us unique, and that is what makes us who we are." So those were great pieces that you chose from students. To me, writing was always difficult. I'm more than math science person. So I remember sitting there when I was in high school, not even being able to write a sentence. So the way you broke it down, you have daily writing and practicing. I know with practice, I had one English teacher in high school that made us write every day. I hated it at first, but it was the best thing they ever did. And the group discussions, he was good on that too, way back in the time when I was in high school. But you promote thinking critically and breaking it down into the steps on the wall. Again, that's logic. That would help me as a learner when I was going to school. But it was culturally relevant too. So thank you for the report and hitting all those important aspects.
Thank you.
I will end by saying thank you. I just had one question and one comment. My question was, you have some great data on your community input, and obviously we've got some qualitative data on people's feelings about reviewing it. Where are we keeping that so that in the future, if we would need to access it or share it out, is there some kind of public place where people can see that? Maybe that's for the superintendent. Go ahead.
Sorry, just clarification question. The data being shared publicly?
Yeah, in particular, when you did the community engagement, you have some qualitative statements, right, that are technically data, right, that people can reference in the future. But where are we keeping that? I think the superintendent is going to save you here.
I think what we could share is that we would be able to put it in the board packet for next week so that you're able to fully see and the community is able to fully see what the comments and the information was.
Great, that'd be perfect, because then that becomes a historical reference. I love that. Thank you very much for that. And then my comment is kind of piggybacking what Director Bauer said. I come from an auntie who every summer I went to her house and she made me write every day. She was a school teacher, principal later, and I hated it, but it really helped me with my critical thinking. And I think in conjunction with what we did today, critical thought at all levels is how we get children to be future leaders that are thinking about people's belonging, thinking about people's inclusion. So really appreciate that reference and the fact that we're really intentionally integrating. I know that teachers have always thought around it, but the intentionality around it is really, I'm thankful for that. Thank you. Okay, so this is a discussion item. Thank you very much for that. We will see you guys again next meeting. Next item on our list is Milwaukee High School, Milwaukee Academy of the Arts, OSAA Cooperative Agreement. This is a discussion item also. We've got two people coming, yay. I'll let you guys introduce yourself. I have one person here, but go for it. Oh, you're not on. There you go.
It is 2 for 1 tonight.
Yeah, and you said it again for the mic. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm not going to do a lot of the talking, but I'm Petra Callan. I'm here to talk about the Milwaukee Academy of the Arts, Milwaukee High School Cooperative Agreement. With me is Tammy O'Neill. She's Associate Director of Secondary Programs and Athletics. So she has been working on this particular project and will give you a sort of a brief summary.
Good evening, everybody. We are looking for the board's support for this cooperative agreement. It would be the 16th year. And what it does is allow students who do not live in the North Clackamas School District or the Milwaukee boundary to actually access activities, OSAA activities and athletics at Milwaukee High School. Without this, students who are not within the boundary would actually only be able to participate in performing arts, athletics at their home high school. So as you can imagine, that would create barriers for transportation, et cetera, and not afford them that within their school community. So we are asking for this agreement. We put in the board packet the participation rates. We all recognize the importance of athletics and activities for our students, their well-being, their physical, mental health. And we just want to be able to provide these opportunities for kids in the easiest way possible.
Chair, can I add to what Tammy shared is that this is in particular for MA students who attend Milwaukee High School, which is our charter that's there that would be able to participate with for those activities.
Thank you for that clarity. This is a discussion item, but did anyone have any questions or comments? Director Schroeder?
Was there an existing cooperation agreement prior, or?
We've had it for about 16 years. The process has changed. Now a school can apply for and has to apply actually electronically for every sport. And every activity. And so the athletic director is ready to do that as soon as possible. He just puts it into the OSAA website, goes directly to Superintendent James, and she approves that. They already have the approval from their league. NWAC has approved the students from MA joining in this.
Well, I get to make a proud statement of my youngest son, who's now 21, is on the OSAA Disability and Inclusion Committee. So, he would always want me to say, to encourage that students with disabilities have the same access to participate in sports. And I love seeing participation and accomplishments for every student. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I just want to say thank you for doing this. I did have a student at MA, so I understand the barriers very intensely. So appreciate you bringing this forth, and we will see you again at our next board meeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is our policy revisions. This is also a discussion item.
Good evening, all. Tiffany Shireman here, Chief of Staff. I'm bringing forward to you tonight first reading. I'm not seeking any action tonight on 3 revised policies and 1 proposed deletion. First in your packet is IGBB, which is related to our instructional program, Talented and Gifted program. Specifically, the policy change responds directly to new legislation, Senate Bill 486, just recently passed, that outlines very clearly that students and their parents have the opportunity to give input on the tag services that a student would receive. So in that individual planning process, that the student and family have the opportunity to provide input. Not a new practice for us, but definitely is part of state law now. Next, KGB, public conduct on district property. I am pleased to share this is coming forward due to student interest in some extracurricular activities. So the current policy does not allow for skateboard safety training for students or skateboards to be on the property, used on the property of North Clackamas facilities. This is a topic of interest for our students, particularly in after-school programs, and we have received requests from after-school programming that would like to provide safety and training around safe skateboarding. So we are bringing forward proposed language to allow, with oversight, safety in particular, that this would be allowed for instructional and extracurricular reasons. Next is at the recommendation of OSBA. The final 2 policies are regarding human resources records for staff. And they're coming forward because this new version is coming forward to really merge 2 policies into a single. Basically, we're combining GBL and GBLA and then deleting GBLA. These have been reviewed by staff and the policy review team, and I'm available for any comments you may have or questions.
Questions, comments? Director Bauer?
One comment, I want to thank the committee for the hours they put in on this. Every month, they meet twice a week, just a reminder to the public, and have some great discussions. Oh, twice a month. Twice a month.
They're inviting me
What
half
did
the
I
meetings
say?
twice a week.
Oh,
I was
it
like,
seemed like
you
that when
can-
I was on the
my
committee.
workload.
I had to read it at least twice or 3 times a week to get it.
Thank you for this presentation, and to all the students that brought forth the skateboard one. I think that's awesome, using the system in particular because New Urban has an incredible skateboard rack. We should absolutely look at this. Director Strado.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to the story that a couple of years ago, I pointed out a sign at one of our comprehensive high schools, and the sign was missing the word no, but it said skateboard and other things, but the word no was missing. No, it wasn't even printed. So I was like, so we allow it, but that did get remedied years ago.
All right, we will have this come back to us at our next meeting. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is board reports. This is an opportunity for board members to update you on where they are in their work. We'll start with Director Strado.
Let's see, I did make a new note. Chair Ford mentioned a lot of words. I like that, Chair Ford. You know, learning takes a lot of words, and sometimes different optics on issues create a situation where I had 2 weeks to think and I did type. So I'd like to read the statement, and I wish more people were here. I spent the last 5 years advocating for the need to trust in math, trust in science, that water is wet, that the earth is round. Some didn't go as well as others. Some people I could reach, others not so much. I have tried so many ways that I am now at a place where I am on this day and at this moment. In the past 5 years, our country has experienced an unprecedented rash of hateful behavior that is racist, misogynistic, homophobic, provincial, and closed-minded, and authoritarian. It's very clear that there is a direct correlation between the obscene and disgusting behaviors of the previous US president and an unleashing of the mimicking behaviors from a very small but widely vocal and obnoxious part of the population. This behavior does nothing to enhance a better community. It does everything to spread vile hate in so many forms. So many, in fact, it seems to breed new forms of hatred on a weekly basis. People who have virtually no interest in, some people have virtually no interest in working for the betterment of our community, want to make it a priority to come and spew forth ridiculous and laughable accusations coupled with their hate for everyone that is not them. They are full of, it's our rights. It's so unfortunate that these people never seem to grasp the basic concepts that all of us as a community member, that all of us are community members, have obligations to create a world that is better for the current inhabitants as well as for the next generation. It is also unfortunate that these very people never have grasped that our country is built upon separation in church and state. That is the only real wall we should have, making our government-run institutions free from one individual's interpretation of what the correct religion to abide by that day. A few points to further my thoughts. 1, freedom of religion includes freedom of worship, be it Buddhism, Islam, Wiccan, Mormonism, atheism, or to be completely agnostic. The Bible has been revised more than 30,000 times. Books have been removed, added over the centuries by various peoples and entities. There is no such thing as a definitive Bible. So community members who want to continue to insist that our district run according to the Bible need to understand there is no one Bible. It's a bunch of historical documents that have many different meanings based on how you read it on that day. My first and most important job as an elected school board member is to protect the students and representing the community. And I have such respect for our district and our staff, and classified to certified to administrator. All these people get up each day to do what's best for our most precious cargo, our children. Apologize for the cargo. I have 4. Who simply are here every other week to spew forth hateful rhetoric that mimics a disgraced and embarrassed former politician that led to an attempted insurrection against our government. And prior to that, spent 4 years stirring hatred among people who apparently do not have the capacity or the decency to be fellow human beings. This board and administration have done an amazing job in the face of a global health pandemic and an uprising in white supremacy and Christo nationalism movement. That again is a very small segment of our population. I will continue to assure that our students are educated and aware of their world. That includes the unpleasant parts of our history, that include not being ashamed to teach appropriate names for genitalia. Last board meeting, I said we teach genitalia clinical words because children who are abused often get told by their attackers that they're just being tickled. We need to get past self-shame of words such as penis, vagina, vulva. It's appropriate anatomical names. If they offend you, you have a maturity problem. You do not have the right to help a small child to be able to articulate what their attacker did to them. Everyone here has the ability to make choices that best suit themselves and their families. You do not, however, have the right to dictate to anyone else what their choices are. For those of us who have now turned your energy to book banning so that as not to expose your children to thoughts different than yours, do know that every single one of your students more likely has a smartphone that has unfettered access to the internet. And if you're not complaining about your parenting and your oversight, and you spend your time in the micro of which book, what sentence, what does that mean? Not everybody's the same. We respect each other's differences. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Way.
Thank you. I have 3 things just to report on. So one, I attended the budget committee that was here. That was great just to get an update, as well as the recommendation to adopt our budget. I also have been a part of the OSBA, Oregon School Boards Association Legislative Policy Committee, and we held a virtual communications toolkit training for other board members who represent Clackamas School District. So I believe there's 6 or 7 of us who represent Clackamas, and this is really to provide more communication around OSBA's legislative and policy efforts. I know that we have a very active community of parents and volunteers, and even some of our board members who go to our legislature every year and advocate for a lot of really good policies for our students. So we did a training in order to do more reporting out of those OSBA's efforts and how we're going to communicate. Again, a lot of the things that are going to be happening really next year, January 2023, when session begins again, to our school boards. And then I also attended, last but not least, May 13th, there was a Protect Trans Youth rally at our state capitol. And I was just really proud to go and attend that. And Basic Rights Oregon and other organizations were very active in organizing that.
Thank you, Director Perez.
2 things. Well, one thing, Director Way already touched on the budget committee meeting, so I won't touch on that again. But the second thing is I was able to go to the district track meet a couple weeks ago, and I just want to say to see the kids out there. Well, first I'll say I volunteered, and I had never volunteered at a track meet before, and I was given some popsicle sticks, and I thought, oh, we're gonna get some popsicles, cool. But no, I think it was Michelle Arkle, who's here in the audience somewhere. She said, no, you use those to, they're numbered so that you hand it to the first runner that comes through who's number one. And then the popsicle stick has number 2 on it. You hand it to second. I'm like, okay, I got it. I was really hoping for popsicles, but so I did my best with that. But I just want to say that to see the kids out there, it was a beautiful, gorgeous day. And to see the kids out there just, enthused and running and just enjoying it. But more, what really affected me was just seeing all the people out there in the stands and the parents helping on the field and the community members and the teachers, and there was administrators and staff, and everybody had come together, and the fans and the stands were packed, and just that village feel. I felt that day. And that's it, for the kids, that was pretty cool. And so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Director Benalogo.
Thank you, Chair Ford. Yes, I am involved with the ROW collaborative meeting. Again, I always give a shout out to Harry over at ROW. He does a wonderful job putting the meeting together and just bringing a lot of community partners together that support the ROW community, especially. Also involved with budget, with policy, and with the benefits committee, although with benefits, I'm definitely in over my head. I listen to the experts on in those meetings because I'm just learning. I also went to the ROW family night. It was wonderful to see the school full of people, just kids having a great time. We had the AAPI dancers there and just lots of people. The school was full and lively, and it was just wonderful to see. And I also was able to go to the North Clackamas Education Foundation dinner with many of you. Just want to remind everyone what the North Clackamas Education Foundation does. They support our district. They have supported our district to over $25,000 in grants for the 2021-22 school year. It's a wonderful foundation. The foundation promotes grants and scholarships, and they've touched on elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools throughout the district. And we're so fortunate to have them. A lot of work goes into the foundation year round, and the dinner is a nice culmination of that. So thank you. That's my report, Chair Ford.
Thank you, Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Ford. Yeah, some of these things have been mentioned. What I've attended here, it was a little different, was Sunnyside PTA with Director Perez. We've kind of continued to try to reach out in different ways. All of us are doing that. ROW Family Night, I was a little late, but I got a feel for it. That babysitting really kind of interferes with some of my connections. After that, I went to the Putnam Drumline. They had a concert and they were having their awards night, and it was just thoroughly enjoyed it. But the amount of work that goes into that group over the years is just amazing. And it connects with a group of kids that just, it's what they need. It's what they need at that time in their life, and beating on those drums and xylophones, but they were making real music. My dad was a band director, so I have some appreciation for that. Some of it rubbed off.
Also at the Education Foundation.
Education
the gala.
Oh, yeah. Most of us were there. Then Madres, I attended one of those meetings where our superintendent, assistant superintendent made a great connection there. And the Parent Community Leadership Alliance, in relationship to the district, hosted a webinar on school budgeting 101. It was a busy night, I think, for people. I wish it was a little bit more well attended, but thank you to our staff, Gail and Jacobson, especially, as we kept quizzing her and she answered every single question. And thank you for everything that staff did here to set that up. And the Legislative and Funding Committee on helping with that. But I think overall, what really helped me again to kind of center, Director Way sent out a notice of an event called Rise Above Hate Gathering on Saturday, May 14th. And I just went there. It was exactly what I needed at that time. And it was a celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander community about its resilience and commitment to combat the continued rise in anti-Asian hate. But unfortunately, that can be transferred to other groups. But that energy and that love that was shown and the celebration for that was exactly what I needed at that time. So thank you for sending that. That's all I have.
Thank you. And then for my report, I just want to say just some clarity on what we all have been a part of. We all have been receiving emails for which we review and we make sure that we know what our public is feeling. As chairs, just so again, clarity, so the board knows, we do have a chairs meeting with our superintendent, which helps us kind of stay the course. In addition to that, I've participated, I'm on the State Recovery Education Committee where we are focused on our preschool and early child care programming, and excited to see where we are going as a state. And I think it'll be impactful for our families. I also want to make sure that I emphasize we need parents to get activated about funding for education. We are headed for an education financial cliff, and I really hope parents can be energized and get in front of legislators to make sure that we don't lose anything, because only our kids will lose out. I also participated in the foundation gala. It was lots of fun to watch Perez run across the floor to find his cake.
I got it.
There's even a picture on their website that you can go see for yourself. Yeah, they caught you. And then I just want to send a big shout out to our middle school band who will be in our Rose Festival with our kids. And I want to send them a big hoorah and break a leg, because that's what you say. I think it's super great that they're representing us there. So, yeah, Director Strado, yes.
I would like to test 1, 2. I'd like to recognize the staff that is retiring. Was not able to. I would like to recognize the staff that is retiring. For all the, I mean, there's so many people with so many decades of service that we've had. And I can't recognize all the ones that are retiring, but I would like to recognize one and one prior. Nancy Utterback, thank you for your dedication and service to students. And please do me a favor and grade Matt Utterback's notes around the house just for the fun of it for me. Thank you.
Thank you guys for all your work. Appreciate and really am honored to work beside each and every one of you. So next on our agenda is our nutrition service report and school meal pricing. We have had this for discussion before, so this is an action item.
Good evening again, all. Tiffany Shireman, Chief of Staff. I'm here with the Nutrition Services Director, Greg Collins. We are seeking your action after you having received a full presentation at the last board meeting. Tonight, we are specifically seeking your action, the approval of the recommended meal prices for 2022-2023, specifically to maintain the current milk prices, and then to increase meal prices as indicated in the board agenda. Thank you. We're available for questions.
Open the floor for a motion.
Chair Ford, I move that we approve superintendent's recommendation for the recommended meal prices for 2022-23 increase meals prices for selected full paid meal pricing categories and maintain current milk price with no increase.
Properly moved. Do I have a second?
Bauer, second.
Excellent. Any discussion? I just have one comment. As we increase, I just want to make sure that we are doing some type of reminder training for our staff about the no shame. As you know, we've had a year off of that. I just want to make sure we don't forget that that's a thing.
Thank you for the reminder.
Okay, all in favor? Well, this is money, so I'll do a roll call. Director Way,
Aye.
Director Perez,
Aye.
Director Strado,
Aye.
Director Benaloga,
Aye.
Director Bauer,
Aye.
and myself is also aye. Thank you. Next on our agenda is our CARE Community After School Relationship Enrichment Program update. This is also an action item. We have heard this from in a discussion last time.
Yes, Chair Ford and board members, as discussed in our previous meeting, you have in your packet the recommendation of increasing fees for the CARE program, which provides after-school care and out-of-school days for our elementary age students. That fee schedule is in your packet, and I'm looking for your approval this evening.
Open floor for a motion.
Motion to approve superintendent's recommendation to approve fee increases as per attachment A, beginning with the fall of 2022.
Probably moved. Have a second.
Way second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And I'm aye. Thank you. Next on the agenda is our world language adoption, Japanese grades 9 through 12. This is also an action item. Oh, now you're in person. That's just so odd. Appreciate it. That's the new teleport. Okay.
So you may recall that we discussed on May 12th the recommendation for world adoption for Japanese. And tonight we ask the board for approval. Joining me is Associate Director Lori Meisner in case there are any questions.
Excellent. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Director Shadle, move approval of world language adoption for Japanese grades 9 through 12.
Probably moved. I have a second.
Bauer, second.
Any discussion? Oh, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 I'm also aye.
Konbawa.
Motion passes. Thank you. We even got an aye in Japanese. Did he say that right, though? I don't know, Lori.
I said good evening. Konbawa.
Oh, okay.
Konbawa.
Okay. I wouldn't know.
Sounded pretty good.
Hi.
Okay, next we have English language arts adoption renewal, grades 5 K through 5. This is also an action item coming back after last week's discussion, after last meeting's discussion, sorry.
Yeah, so also discussed on May 12th, we presented the recommendation to adopt the ELA K-5 adoption along with our DLI curricula. And joining me are also Dr. Andrea Lockhart and Associate Director Molly Little, in case there are any questions tonight.
Excellent. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Move approval of the superintendent's recommendation, adoption of English language arts curriculum materials for reading, writing, and foundational skills, including dual language immersion or DLI, to include, and do you want me to say, okay, to include English language arts, Fontes and Pinnell classroom, FPC writing component, systemic and explicit foundational skills curriculum, parentheses from phonics to reading, also language arts for DLI, Lucy Culkin's units of study, reading and writing, systemic and explicit foundational skills curriculum.
Director Perez, second.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And I'm also aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming this evening. Meeting is adjourned. It is now 9:09.
Aye.